I'm Susan Derringer. I'm with the Silverado Communities Fire Safe Council. We've been a council since 2018 and NFPA recognized since that time, or since 19. Right now, we're raising money to do some maintenance on a fuel break on our north side perimeter that was done by the foundation and finished up in early 2022. And we feel like we could, as a community, do it this year, and then in hopes that the foundation will be able to do something in the fall of next year. So that's where we are right now. We have an educational program coming up in October 7th here for the entire community. And that's it.
Thank you, Susan. Who's representing Pope Valley Farm Center today?
Well, that's me. Are you hearing me, Phil Burton?
I am hearing you.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a difficult ride. I know a lot of people around here, but most of these ranches are pretty spread out. So it's hard to get people to do that. And then the more conservative corner says, well, it's some government interference of something. And so my fervent hope is that when people see that perhaps insurance companies will look at mitigations people have done rather than just risk area, then we can get the thing to grow. I sent the thing to about the meeting tonight, as a matter of fact, to several people I thought might be interested. But unfortunately, the farm center has a function this evening, which takes most of the people I know since I'm on the board there. But anyway, little by little, we're starting.
And what's your name?
I'm Phil Burton.
Thank you, Phil. Forgive me for not having memorized everybody's name as I should have by this point.
Are you kidding? I'm in my 70s. I can't remember anybody's name, so it's okay.
Eileen, do you want to say hello?
Hi, I'm Eileen Pereira. I lead the Coombsville Wild Horse Valley Road Fire Safe Council. And I guess our current situation is that we are about to implement our the signage program. So we got on the list for Piper to sponsor us for signage for our community. And we got a lot of that work done, and the signs are really expected to come in this week. So, you know, we're almost there. In terms of issues, we have a rather significant issue in that we did get our fire safe certification, the FireWise certification. So we are, I think, the 6th or 7th of the 21 fire safe councils who are certified. And it is very beneficial because several insurance companies, several people in our community are using it to help get discounts on their insurance. So we also, I guess, to get that, we had to complete our CWPP, which we did. And the last piece of that is that we are supposed to get signatures from, we have 2 counties that we come into, so supervisors for those counties. And we have to get Christopher from Napa Fire Safe to sign off, and we have to get the fire chiefs to sign off. And I've been waiting for about a month now, and no one has signed off. So that has been my big problem recently. And I guess I can't really get into the projects because I don't have a sign off. So our CWPP is not official. And any help that I could get to get that done, Gretchen, would be much appreciated.
Sherry, did you want to, did she get off? Let's speak about, yeah, how do we ferry that from signer to signer, Sherry?
Yeah, I think the best advice that I've heard so far is to get JC to sign off on it for the Cal Fire / Napa County Fire, and we can get Christopher to sign off on it too. And then county should be easy for that. But Eileen, let's get it done. And I know it's really very frustrating, but I'm sorry to say that you're not the only one that's had to wait a long time. I mean, you work so hard to get it all done. So let's make this a good opportunity to remind everybody who needs to sign that how important this is, and that if they have questions, let's just get through it and get that thing going.
May I ask if
you-
it needs to be wet signed or if we could have it docu-signed in a series of people?
We could send it around for DocuSign. Again, JC had advised that once he and Napa Fire, like the Cal Fire and Napa County Fire, have signed off on it, it kind of gives a stamp of approval. It's more palatable going forward. It's a little easier to get signatures, but
All
let's,
right.
Eileen, let's you and I get together if you have time this tomorrow or Friday, and
Sure.
we-
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, who is Supervisor Belea's assistant, has been challenging the letter. He says it's not enough. And then he sends me a sample of your grant application for funding. And I said, we're not asking you for money. This is not a grant application. But he still wants more detail. And I don't feel competent or confident about what he is expecting. I thought, since Carol drafted the letter, it should be sufficient, but apparently it's not. And I've asked Carol what she can help with, and it's not going anywhere.
All
Well,
right, so we'll follow
you
up
and I-
on this, Sherry, because we got to do it for everybody. And
Yeah.
we obviously need to get some better buy-in from some of the new supervisors for the new fire safe councils. So since we have a lot to do with Carol, let's come up with something that's, standard. And ideally, we may be able to do several at once, because I know that Carol is 50% to 75% of the way through several CWPPs. So I'm sorry to hear that, Eileen, because I know you've been working so hard, and I appreciate your patience.
Looks like Bob
mhm.
Cumby's got a question.
I saw that.
Yeah, if you could loop me into, we submitted ours a year ago. And have just, gone full speed ahead anyway. You advised me a few months ago to just kind of ping JC and send it to him again. I did that, and folks are busy. And I think, if we could somehow batch these and push them through, that would be terrific.
Yeah, it seems to me that's true, Bob. While you're chiming in on that, because I did not realize that was such a sticking point, and it's something that we should streamline. You're right, you have moved forward, so I didn't realize it'd be problematic, Eileen. And so we'll follow up on that. But Bob, did you want to give a quick update on anything?
Not really. I guess the update is we're closing in on all the projects we have identified in our CWPP.
You
So
are.
it hasn't been signed, really hasn't been an impediment. But it's been a good year. We have kind of one remaining project that should get started this week, and things are good.
Outstanding. I did have a very quick question in front of everyone. You guys did a very excellent job of doing fundraising. You took a different approach. You basically assessed people in your fire safe council and applied that to projects in your plan. Do you have a similar model moving forward for maintenance funds of those projects that you've done?
Yeah, we do. I guess each year, there's been two of them. I sent out a kind of an annual report in the early part of the year, kind of, here's what we did last year, here's our budget for this year, and here are our plans going forward. And in that, I set out our maintenance budget. The funds we raised so far will take care of this year. Starting next year, we have a maintenance budget. Let everybody know what the assessment's going to be for that. We had an FSC meeting in kind of the middle of July, talked about it there. So we seem to have buy-in on that. So yeah, we have a plan for funding maintenance on all of our projects starting next year with kind of annual assessments for maintenance.
Yeah, because I know that moving forward for everyone, we all have to figure out various funding sources, and your model has been fairly unique. Okay, who's next? Evan, do you want to say hi, hello, and give us a quick update and tell us about your awesome recent video?
Yes, thank you. And thank you everybody for being here and doing such a great job expanding the capacity of Napa County community Firewise communities. And it's been, I've been kind of absent the last couple of years on these meetings because While I've been a part of the Berryessa Highlands Fire Safe Council since 2011, after the LNU complex burnt a third of our community down and two-thirds of our forest, we had to kind of put a pause on things and reevaluate. And I stepped aside because I took a pause on things, quite frankly, because there was a lot going on. And it gave us time to look at things. And right now our Fire Safe Council is regrouping, and it's about to start a new community. We're going to request a new risk assessment and a community wildfire. And we're going to, because we already had a community wildfire protection plan from 2011, it'll be pretty easy for us to actually, as a Fire Safe Council, with the support of NCFF, we're going to just try to create our own CWPP, which it sounds like, based on your guys' experiences, it's been tough getting the support from like Carol Rice, because there's 20, it's amazing to see 20 plus Fire Safe Councils in Napa County. So you guys should all pat yourselves on the back and know that you're fast tracking what took 15 years to get to this point. And Joe Nordlinger has really been instrumental with NCFF as a board member for 20 years and shown how it can be done. So I won't go on anymore besides saying the Berryessa Highlands Fire Safe Council, we're regrouping and we're looking forward to doing more. We love seeing all the other work going on out there. And I'm Evan. Thank you guys for everything.
Thanks, Evan. We've been doing a lot of work in the Berryessa Highlands, got a lot of things permitted. There are goats munching out there now on the steep hillsides. And so we're really looking forward to having Berryessa Highlands help step up with maintenance with the project.
Yeah, and I should highlight the fact that NCFF's 5-year plan, what they've done, as you all have seen around the county, they've done a lot of great work in their year 1 and year 2 of their 5-year plan. And part of their year 1 and 2 plan for the Berryessa was to help the Berryessa Highlands with a large ridgeline fire break and using goats to graze to maintain a pre-existing fire break that we had installed. So the ridgeline fire break they put in, NCFF put in a fire break that was unprecedented to anything that I, as a Berryessa Highlands Fire Safe Council member, would ever try to tackle. Because as a Fire Safe Council member, I've been suggested to focus on educating my neighbors and doing local community related projects within the community, perimeter type projects. So NCFF and with CAL FIRE, as you all know, came up with their 5-year plan. And I have to say that in their execution of what they said they were going to do, they put in some monumental fire breaks on the ridge lines around the Berryessa Highlands community. And then the goat work, they selected a fantastic spot to use goats, where we've been treating a perimeter fire break for about 10 years. We've removed all the brush, and then they were able to use the sheep. Actually, I should say that in this case, they brought in
Yeah,
sheep
it's true.
to manage the grass regrowth.
Thank you, Evan.
So thank you. Yeah, thank you guys. It's all been great. And thank you.
It's very important that we all work at every scale. We need homeowners to work on their properties. We need the fire safe councils to help galvanize and work with the community. And we're concentrating on large scale community field breaks. Pam, we were just talking about goats. Do you want to say hi, hello from Spring
Hi,
Mountain?
yeah, sorry I'm late to join. Yeah, so my quick update on goats is we had a 100-acre project shared between 14 neighbors here, coordinated through and organized with CAL FIRE, FireWise, and our Spring Mountain Fire Safe Council. Beautifully, neighbors added to the project as we went along. We knew we had some funding, seed funding from Senator Dodd from the Christmas party, which got everything off and running. With Steve Burgess's help, we were able to figure out that grazing would be the best option. We then went through that idea with CAL FIRE, with Eric and Jason. Treat heavily conifered area that did not burn during the blast fire. So that was the driver there was, the vast majority of the acreage had not burned yet. So we were looking at, you know, trying to prevent any with this goat project. Corey did it with Napper Pasture Protein, and she was phenomenal to work with the neighbors and bringing more neighbors in along the way. There's a lot to learn there. I don't know how much you want to talk about that, Gretchen, in terms of details.
I just basically wanted to make sure everybody got just a basic introduction, because we're gonna go over the Napa County Wildfire Fuel Mapper, and then anybody who wants to go to the PG&E Wildfire Season Update at 5:30 can. But one of the beautiful things I thought about the GOAT project there that really changed a lot of people's minds was the tackling of poison oak, which presents a problem to workers out in the field, and goats handle it far better. So I'm happy. Do you have anything that is pending or coming up next that the Fire Safe Council is tackling?
So back to that, I will mention that was Steve Burgess's big comment was, how are you going to get hand crews in here? There's so much poison oak. So it's a really good thing to keep in mind if you do have a heavily infested area. Next for us is actually, interestingly, Sherry's going to laugh. I can't remember the name of the bush, but there is a particular bush that the goats avoided and the sheep avoided. We added sheep also because they eat downward and the goats eat upward. So that's something to note with your vegetation. If there's one more than another or a combination, sometimes a combination herd is better. But the spike bush, I think it is, they all avoided it because this time of year is a poisonous component to it. So the animals avoided, and we now need RCD to come in and look at that vegetation specifically to make sure we're not running a risk of it taking over a broader area because the brush had been cleared so well by the animals. Is it giving sort of not an invasive species, but an aggressive native species a chance to establish itself in an area now that the goats have cleared everything? So,
and that is a problem that we notice in a lot of places. I think that Gretchen, actually, if you want to say hi, hello, Gretchen, I think that you were dealing with something similar with broom. Like we sometimes in going in and doing our fuel mitigation, we end up with another that hopefully foreseen problem and try to deal with invasive species like that. You want to give an update for Diamond Mountain, Gretchen?
Sure. I'm not sure. I mean, we did have some goats last year on some different properties. Obviously, our deal is we've been logging in a whole private logging program on multiple properties with an emergency logging declaration. And when the logs are all gone, when the dead fir trees, what does that sound? When the dead fir trees are gone.
Eileen, can you mute yourself? I think the sound is coming from yours. Sorry, Gretchen, to interrupt.
And thanks for letting me know. I can't tell.
Yeah. So, so we have like a big growth since they're taking away all the shade, which is dead trees, but still shade. There's a big growth of all kinds of understory stuff. And I'm not sure we have a broom attack up here, but just a multitude of different things. And Ceanothus is one of them, which is a native, but it's growing intensely, and it's also a fire, fuel thing. But one of the things I wanted to weigh in on for us in terms of Napa Firewise, I have two things to share. Diamond Mountain Road, Cordham Canyon Road, and Tucker Acres have all received, really generous combination of grants. And we did last fall and into the winter some super roadside fuel reduction stuff. And I have nothing but amazingly, nice things to say about Steve Burgess and his project management on that, and Mike Wilson and his project management. And now our big task, we have two things. One is on Sharp Road behind us at the back of Napa, back of Diamond Mountain, is this Sharp Road connector. And we have let's say, a delicate situation with private property and neighbors in Sonoma County that we're working closely with to get them to agree to put this a good sizable grant money onto this very tricky back road, which is a emergency egress and ingress road. So that's an ongoing project that we're heavily involved with, and we're getting some forward movement on a couple of tricky neighbor situations. So that's
Thank you for your diplomacy, Gretchen. I think
Very-
everybody needs to fully understand the critical role you all play in building trust and
That's right.
community and
Yeah,
being ambassadors and diplomats.
Thank you.
work.
And
Thank you.
And, you know, myself and Donnie Dyer and others here in Diamond Mountain were really focused on, because we're on the county line and the fire goes through from our side and hits Sonoma County typically. You know, we're looking at cross-county communications and long-term improvements between Napa Firewise and Sonoma Fire and that sort of thing. But the other thing that I'm pretty excited about this year is what I'm understanding from Napa Firewise is a focus on ridgeline roads and dozer roads from historic times, identifying them, mapping them, formalizing where they are. And we have a pretty significant ridge road up here that crosses multiple private properties. So one of our priorities going forward is to map it and communicate with all the private property owners so that we could be maintaining that to be open.
And we're going to be bringing in some money from a generous donation from the Napa Valley Vintners.
Yeah.
And we're beginning our work on reoccupying a lot of dozer lines now in East County, but we have over 100 lines identified throughout the rest of the county, but we will absolutely need your help reaching out to them. I don't want to cut everybody off, but
yeah, so I'm good with that. Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that we could come back to a roundtable. Who have I missed? That Cynthia, you haven't said hello. You're from Lake Hennessy Fire Safe Council, correct?
Yes, hi everyone. Yes, Lake Hennessy Fire Safe Council, and we've had a little bit of a slow year. Some of it is due to our bandwidth of volunteers, but we are wrapping up our certification application with Carol's help, and we received all of our signs that people had requested, and so Whitsey is in the process of doing all of the installations. And then we are also, we've been talking with people about our steering committee. So we haven't made as much progress as we would like, but we're still inching along. So I really don't have a whole lot to add to that. I would be interested in speaking with others more closely about their use of. We have a wonderful sheep and goat herder who we have worked with, and I'd like to hear more about the collaboration with CAL FIRE and other neighbors to figure out how they coordinated that and get some maybe some helpful hints. So which Fire Safe Council was that? Calistoga?
It's
We've
Spring
got at least
Mountain.
three.
Spring Mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
and
great. Pam.
Cynthia, I'll reach out to you because I can give you a lot of very specific
Okay.
guidance on that. And also I
Yes.
wanted to ask on the green signs, someone is installing them for you, or did I hear that right?
What we're doing is and we have a very small group of people who requested the signs, and we ordered the green signs in conjunction with the informational signs such as hydrants and water sources. So
Cool.
we kind of put everything into one project with them being funded separately. And we have our volunteer is either doing the installations if people are requesting it, or we're simply handing over the signs for them to install.
That's so exciting.
Thank you.
Yes.
Cynthia. Is there anybody else from like Hennessy Fire Safe Council would like to introduce themselves.
Fred Seavey and my brother Will Seavey is also on the call. We're also Lake Hennessy Fire Safe Council. And then I see Stephen Merrill as
Steve
well.
Merrill's also on, yeah.
Anything you wanted to say, gentlemen, Stephen, Fred, or Will?
Fred,
No,
would you like
nothing.
to, Fred, would you care to share anything about, first of all, glad you're on the call. Thank you for being here. Anything you'd like to share about the Prescribed Burn Association seminar that you hosted in the last couple of weeks?
Tell about that.
Well, yeah, we just did, as people know, there's an effort centered by the Napa County Resource Conservation District and UC Ag Extension, Cooperative Extension Agents, but to try to explore the possibility of setting up a Prescribed Burn Association in Napa County. So they've been doing some Zoom meetings, and we did an in-person meeting at our ranch last month, where we had about, I'd say, 45 or 50 people come.
Awesome.
And spent several hours together, had pizza and hung out for about 3 hours. And to gather interests, concerns, existing skill sets, and then also to talk about possible organizational forms for a prescribed burn association. We had someone from Lake County's PBA join the meeting and describe their experience. So it's, again, part of this listening process that will go forward. I think Evan is involved in setting up a similar kind of meeting over by Lake Berryessa.
Coming up in the next few months. So we'll advertise that for everybody.
I'm just helping to spread the word, but RCD, Napa RCD, and NRCS, I think or the UC Davis, they're coordinating this, I think, formally for us.
They are. So if you missed the first one, basically, we're going to get the word out. Fred, you're recommending everybody attends the second, at least?
Yeah, I think it's helpful just to have the conversation and build community. And I think there's a lot of interest. We've seen a lot of, growth of the PBAs around us in Lake, Sonoma, Mendocino counties.
I appreciate that very much. I do not know who Allison Frichtel is. Did I pronounce that correctly, Allison?
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Allison. I'm just attending because I've been on the Angwin Council for the last 3 months. I'm here to listen. It's really been interesting hearing everyone speak. And I know that our council has been making great efforts. We just met yesterday to reorganize. We've had a lot of turnover. We have a lot of new members. So it's just really valuable to hear what everyone is saying here today.
Excellent. Yeah, I know we're doing an awful lot of work up there, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the revitalization because it's a critical area and lots of people to protect. And thank you for your being active. What about Megan Jepson?
Berryessa West. Hey, Megan. You're on mute. There you are.
I'm unmuting.
We can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
You're a little garbled, yeah.
Hi, everyone. The service here is great. We're basically just waiting for our CWP to be finalized. We have some getting a lot around our neighborhood, which is great, and we're just slow and steady and stay inspired while we wait to get off the ground here.
Thank you, Megan.
It's pretty garbled. I can maybe translate some of that, but the CWPP is primarily done. There's a handful of other things that need to happen to wrap it up, but a bunch of projects have been identified, and I think we'll have it kind of buttoned up completely, maybe within the next 30 or 45 days. There was everything from sort of identifying another access egress road that could use some improvement, sort of evaluating water system. There's a whole bunch of projects. It's a great little community. Carol and I have one more site visit to go to 2 other little neighborhoods that are connected to Berryessa West, Sugarloaf, I think is one, and then I forget what the name of the other one is.
Pines.
Yeah, well, Megan is in Berryessa Pines, and that's the main location in the Berryessa West Fire Safe Council. So there's 2 other.
Spanish Flat is the other, I think.
It's not Spanish Flats.
So we're gonna have a contest on our Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, I don't know.
Anyway, in any event.
So that's wrapping up. Joe, while you're speaking, did you want to speak at all about Mount Veeder and your recent fundraiser?
Yeah, things are always busy out here in the Veeder area. We did have a great little fundraiser, our Home Winemakers Classic. I think it was probably one of our more successful fundraisers. In the big scheme of things, it's not a huge amount of money, but it funds our Neighbors in Need program. And I think directionally right now, it looks like we may have raised about close to $30,000, $25,000, $30,000. So we use that to help out folks in our area that need assistance with defensible space and things like that.
And then that's very similar to our current project that Piper's running on D-Space, and where we've been giving people up to $3,500 in cost share reimbursement for work they do on their property. Joe, do you get more bang for your buck out there in Mount Veeder? Do you do about $3,000 per property for your neighbors in need, or do you not?
We go up to 4,500. We try to, if we have folks that, we try to focus on folks who have physical limitations, are elderly, or are low income, but the reality is we don't necessarily have.
Not on you. Oh my God. Here, go.
Hey, maybe we can mute Sherry out here. I can't mute her out. I don't know if you can. She probably doesn't realize she's not unmuted. But anyway, when we do these, oftentimes we'll get the homeowner to do a cost share. So we might go up to 4,500, but then we'll get the homeowner to chip in $2,500 or $3,000 or something if it requires it. Yeah. So
I'm sorry, Joe.
That's it.
Is there anyone I've left off? Because then I think maybe I'll take the opportunity to launch into our pre-launch of the Napa County Wildfire Fuel Mapper. Is there anyone else who wants to speak?
Sorry, now that I understand context more, we just finished our CWPP and community meeting and CAL FIRE came. I highly recommend, if you are going to have your CWPP community presentation, that you ask Eric Hernandez to coordinate having some local professional firefighters there. It was great to have the credibility of them in the room. And our next steps are trying to figure out whether to apply for the National Fire Safe Council process. And I'd love to hear if anybody has had good success with that, if they've seen lower insurance rates because of it. We're trying to get a little bit more tangible understanding of that effort and tracking time and all of the administrative stuff, which we also are limited on capacity wise here. If it's been worth it for any chapters, I'd like to hear if any of the other fire safe councils have had.
Silverado has had probably one of the longest ones. Susan, do you spend an awful lot of time tracking? I know that Eileen is doing the same in Coombsville. Is it very laborious to keep track of the requirements to stay Firewise USA certified?
I think it's going to depend on the actual community itself. What I do is I know what's going on within the community. So I know that, this HOA is spending money doing some 100-foot clearance, et cetera. And then I reach out to them to get their contractor and send their contractor as close to the time that they do the work, because otherwise it gets forgotten, because you need to know things like the volume of brush removed, the man hours, et cetera. And so, and then just driving around the community and seeing things done, then I'll reach out to the individuals as well when I see that they're doing some hardening or whatever. But I try to gather all that information by the end of August, so that I can start compiling to make sure that I reach the NFPA's per household limits. And what I've found is that with several projects, you hit that limit. So you really don't necessarily have to sweat bullets to do it. It does take a little time, you know, a day or so, and Carol is very helpful on that, in filling out the application on an annual basis, and I try to do that in early October. It's not, once you do it, it's not a big deal to do it every year. But I
Yeah.
would say when a project gets done, that's when you go to the contractor and get the information right then and there. Otherwise, you may get misinformation or you may have a struggle getting it. So
I'm gonna weigh in on that too, because we did that for Diamond Mountain Fire Safe Council and we became certified this year. And we so far exceeded the requirements in terms of volunteer hours and money spent that, and we, you know, put all our best foot forward. And then, so when we go to recertify each year, it won't be that difficult to just compile, you know, a modest amount of volunteer hours and dollars spent, because we're all spending way beyond. So if you just capture some of the efforts you're putting in, that will be enough to just keep you going.
You use
And
email
it's
survey
worthwhile, you know,
lists, or do you do
we don't know if we've had insurance reductions. It's hard to tell. Everybody has a different insurance company. It's not one mega thing. We just hope.
you can go on the California Department of Insurance, and they have on their website a list of insurance companies that do give you discounts. I know that USAA gave me a 5% discount.
Oh, that's
So
fantastic.
there are companies that give discounts, and I believe it's on the Department of Insurance website, a list of people that would do that. But you have to be the one to go to your broker
Yes.
or your insurance company and say, hey, I did this.
I got this certification. Yeah, and we're just hoping, I mean, the discounts are great, but we're really just very much hoping that it prevents insurance companies from canceling, you know, in an aggregate larger scale. If we can keep showing that we're doing mitigations, we're hoping to prevent cancellations.
I think there's going to be a more cumulative benefit the more fire safe councils
Yeah.
get certified. And that's one reason why we're looking for funding and have funding to assist. And then once you get started, I think that's the biggest bump. Keeping it up, yes, definitely that will take some responsibility. But if we show an aggregate instead of just a couple isolated communities of the majority of the county being certified, the insurance companies are apt to listen.
It's worth pointing out again, I want to point out that it should be a priority for all fire safe councils to do what is being discussed right now in terms of these basic accounting for what the paperwork that's needed for this certification. Because like the Berryessa Highlands Fire Safe Council, we got the certification once in 2014. It expired in 2017. Since then, no homeowners have been able to claim that we are a FireWise community. So since then, no homeowners have been able to claim a discount. Fingers crossed, when the insurance discount start applying to all insurance agencies out there starting next year for wildfire mitigation efforts, we might get every single homeowner paying more than $4,000 a year, or, well, let's just say that, might save up to 10% on their homeowners insurance just when a fire safe council or a community becomes a FireWise community. So that's a big incentive for me and our fire safe council. That's why we are really putting a lot of emphasis on doing just like what you guys are all doing. Let's get our CWPPs up to date so that way we can get our FireWise status up to date. And then we have a mission from there, and we have discounts on homeowners insurance.
Yeah, and one more thing, 2 CAL FIRE officers showed up on my property unsolicited this week, and they were from actually Sonoma, And they were coming over to assist Napa County Fire Department, J.C. Greenberg's program of doing the dispensable space inspection. And they came up and they were doing Diamond Mountain Road and just going on properties where there weren't locked gates and walking on and seeing, and if it looked good, they were issuing a certificate of defensible space inspection, you know, looking good. And so that's a separate program by Napa County Fire that is, you know, been rolling out this year. I thought you had to ask for them to come, but they're just now deploying wherever they can comb through these wildland, you know, WUI areas and enter property that doesn't have a locked gate and, you know, giving a good report. In our case, half of our green stuff burned down. So we got like a nature helped out on the defensible space up at our house. But yeah,
I wanted
so
to
that was
say
a big
two things
surprise.
to that. So that's the layer. I don't know if anybody's seen our article that came out, but we definitely want to be able to show several layers. And right there is the individual layer at the homeowner of doing your D-space. Then we're getting Firewise certification, we're looking at an entire community. And then when we're looking at mitigation all over the whole county, we can say, look, we're doing multi-level mitigation.
Yeah.
Please wake up, insurance companies, and recognize
Yeah.
that we're reducing risk. The other thing I wanted to say, because time is flying,
Mhm.
is I do hope that you all are cultivating your contact lists and that you drive people to our website to sign up with their emails so that we can assist you in getting word out. And it seems to me that using tools such as survey-based things or easy answer things would be a quick and easier way to maybe collect data from people for the annual certification, but that it's all predicated on having good communication. And we are very happy to help you build your contact list because we would also like to send our newsletter out. But I encourage you to converse frequently and amplify our newsletters or our messages out so people come to you and then to us, because you can give them that even greater level of concierge service and they're going to know you better. I'm going to take this opportunity just to jump in real quick to showing you this pre-launch for the Wildfire Fuels Mapper. And then if we have any time at the end before 6 o'clock, we can have another roundtable or have questions. Anybody want to say anything before I launch? Okay, I'm going to try to share screen and talk and show you where this comes from. So let me see if I get this right. My Zoom screen is not opening, so I can share. Just a moment. So this whole thing started because I learned about the fact that Sonoma County had a wildfire fuels mapper tool that was created for them to help people there comply with the Sonoma Defensible Space Program. And my good friend, Lisa McKaylee, is CEO of Pepperwood Preserve, who has teamed with UC and the county to deliver this tool in Sonoma County. Can everyone see the website?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Pepperwood is taking things even a step farther than we are in Napa County. They're taking a more regional approach. And so they thought it would be critically important that they deliver this tool to us in Napa County. And I took the opportunity to customize it with Napa County Fire and CAL FIRE to add an extra layer of data in here so that individuals who own parcels greater than 3 acres, that's very important, can download a parcel report for their property that shows conditions in 2018 and wildfire risk, and then access these other resources to help do their D-space or hire contractors. And the customization was to put the 100-foot zone around all structures in the county. So there's going to be links on our website to link to this, but our web maven is on vacation. So I just thought I would show you how to get to it at this point and to download parcel reports for parcels greater than 3 acres or Fire Safe Council level reports with data for the time being. So at wildfirefuelmapper.org, Napa County, it takes you to this homepage featuring Eric, and you choose Napa County. And it allows you, and my screen seems awfully small, to see Eric's famous fire marshal website video on defensible space in our programs. And I do not know why I cannot see the buttons down here, but there are 3 buttons at the bottom of the screen. Maybe this screen that I'm on is too small.
Our
Please,
screen looks pretty full.
can you see the buttons down here?
Yeah, there's 3 bars, 3 orange bars.
Yes, and can you read them? Because I can,
Now, we can see the top of the buttons, but not anything else.
I
Right.
can see this on my bigger computer down. I don't know why we can't, but at any
Oh,
rate,
well.
if we click through, one is the defensible space button that takes you to our website. And this is the defensible space guide that the team put together, I think back in 2019. So it is just general resources and information about what DSpace is, and this lives on our website. What I am asking Colleen to do, our web maven, is to add links to our DSpace cost share program here, and also back to the wildfire fuel mapper so people can get their report. If we go back to the wildfire fuel mapper, the second button is a get your custom maps button. And I do think that we need to emphasize here that it is only for parcels greater than 3 acres so that people don't waste their time who do not have a parcel that large going through. But I'm also getting a quote right now to allow people to select more than 1 parcel, say you own 3 or 4 or 5, and get a report based on that. That is not done yet, but on this page is where you would go to either enter your address or zoom in and click on your parcel. And down below, it's a little hidden. This is an excellent tool for you to get all the data on defensible space within your fire safe council. So it's 2 different scales of information. For the heck of it, I think I'll start with the fire safe council scale, and Diamond Mountain's pretty handleable. So it should download. And if it doesn't, there it is. You got to scroll down. I think that that is a note that we should make to the web maven because it doesn't look like it's doing anything.
Right. You don't know what you're looking for.
Right. So anything that you notice, please, as you're test driving this, let me know so we can improve it to see. And it is not a web-based interactive thing. We had to do the templates first and then pre-run them so that when you go to download information, either for your parcel or for the entire fire safe council, it downloads a PDF that's been pre-prepared with all the data. But essentially there are just some basic reports in here to show where the structures are, what it looks like to imagine 100 feet around each structure. And at the fire safe council level, I encourage you to use this to look at neighborhoods that can cooperate to get collective benefit from doing all our defensible space. You know, in this instance here, obviously it will help protect this one structure, but in Tucker Acres or other places where people work collectively, if you all do your defensible space, you get a community fuel break around your neighborhood. So this is an especially good tool if you want to go to few people or groups of people and encourage them to apply for the DSpace cost share program, because you'd be more competitive in the program if you apply collectively. You won't be disqualified for applying on your own, but there is added benefit for working collectively. So this is the overall scale. And it gives you the data, the acres that you would need to treat of each kind of vegetation within that 100-foot zone to be compliant with the defensible space ordinance. And this is not as helpful maybe on Fire Safe Council level, but when we go to the parcel reports, you could use this instead to see what your costs would be perhaps for logging as opposed to mowing to be in compliance. It lets you know what you have there. So if I go back now to the wildfire field mapper, please tell me if we're back in the video to seeing, you all see the
download button.
page?
Yeah.
Does anybody
We're in-
want to throw out an address or should I just zoom in?
Just
Nobody
zoom
wants-
in.
Just zoom in, okay. I guess we do that here. And we could choose, what should we choose? Any place that anybody knows?
I guess it's giving you this one parcel APN.
Right, so you need to be able to, it's easiest to find your address.
Mhm.
Why I asked for one, but if you look for something in the, I don't know, I'm trying to find somebody who might have.
Just grab a parcel up above Lake Hennessy. One of
Yeah,
those
in
ones.
in the foothills somewhere.
Well, give me a,
I-
on Valley
I'll
Road,
give you, I'll
Thirty-two
give you an-
eighty-five St. Helena Highway. How about that?
32.
85 St. Helena Highway. That's a foothill address. And that might be my place, might be.
Will it come in?
Oh, Victoria.
That's the
not-
Palisades.
Whoops, try it saying it again. It's a different, we're in a different region, St. Helens. Just say
85 St. Helena Highway North.
Do you think I gotta spell it out? I never
Yes.
knew how they have it.
Yeah.
No,
and you gotta say California. Throw in
There we go.
California. There we go.
Oh,
okay,
they put everybody down on the highway, but well. we can
so
zip
is
it
this
out.
the right parcel number? Do you recognize this or we can?
No, it's 3285, but it's close enough. If you zoom back out.
So
little bit
here's the
further.
neighborhood. Anybody in through here?
Yeah, do that triangle one on the left side of your screen.
This one.
Yeah.
That's the
Okay,
one.
let's
Yeah,
take a look at it.
Here we go.
All right, so ideally, this tells you, there's a disclaimer that the data is old, so if you've done work since 2018 or it's burned since 2018, the
Huh.
vegetation is likely not to be exactly the same, but you should consider the probability that it could grow back. And
Yeah.
when we get the new LiDAR data, which was flown this last spring, if we get the funds, we would like to update these parcel reports with change over time from 2018 to 2023, which will tell us a lot. It will tell us what grows back, what work people have done, and just remind people that change occurs over time. So the data is listed here on how much of the parcel, so defensible space within the parcel, how much of it, 1.72 acres of vegetation is greater than 15 feet. 0.29 acres is between 1 and 15 feet, and 1.9 acres is less than 1 foot. So basically, it distinguishes between trees, shrubs, and grass, and therefore how you might approach treating that within the defensible space only. It's not for the entire parcel.
Just around the structures
Yes.
by defensible space. Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And there were actually 10 different data layers, but Napa County asked to keep it shorter and simpler for people to use for overall planning and comprehension. But there's definitely a lot more data available, but this was literally to help with compliance with the ordinance without us being the enforcement arm, but giving some context. And here's a perfect example. It doesn't seem like much, but this 100 feet that goes over the property line
Yeah.
here, is your neighbor's responsibility to do to protect this structure. And so where you have more densely populated places, it's important for you to be able to show neighbors how they are responsible for helping to protect their neighbors' properties. So here's an example. We got the acres by vegetation type on the first slide. This shows the overall building footprint and the zones for recommended defensible space treatments to keep those properties safe. There's a couple other added information. This particular parcel does not have streams and water bodies, but we decided to give the shaded relief map so you could really see, and I think it's like 3 meters, the contours of your property. And if you have a blue line stream, where you should be careful because you may or may not need permits to do work, or you may want to be careful in certain stream areas where there may be restrictions or different kind of plants that you may want to confer with the flood control district or the RCD.
If you grab that next parcel to the south on the map, there should be a stream on there that might help demonstrate that one right there.
Well, I got to go back.
Oh,
This
never
is-
mind,
this
never
is-
mind.
These are only data
Yeah.
layers. This is
Got
your
it.
PDF. And then this one is pulled out of the wildfire risk maps data. This is where this is pulled from.
Can
When
you see where the state park is and where my parcel starts on the left side there?
is this it here? And so this would have been predicted frame lengths based on conditions in 2018. So it would be ideal if we had LiDAR data flown after the goats ate to show that the likelihood of 11-foot high flames has now been lowered to 0 to 4. And this discusses how each type of vegetation or flame length would be battled. And essentially, firefighters can handle 0 to 4 feet much better than they can flames that are going over 11 feet, because the ladder fuels from 0 to 4 to 8 feet allowed the flames to climb into the canopy and then be wind driven far and away and starting fires elsewhere. So the whole idea is to keep fires on the ground in green areas, make them green and away from structures. So that is the
It's
bottom line.
fascinating stuff. And just FYI for everybody, the gray is all vineyard.
Right.
So the map is assuming, no information for vineyard.
No, not no information. So every single model is based on assumptions. And Carol will tell you that the assumptions were that agricultural areas or urban areas are going to have very low to 0 flame lengths. So it doesn't mean that there's absolutely no probability that it will burn there, but the probability is relatively low compared to other places. So you'll see all ag areas that way. So is this the state park parcel here?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And this is the one with the stream. So we could look
Yeah.
at one more, and then it's 6 o'clock, and you guys
Yeah.
are welcome to go and play with this. But this report here would,
Yeah, we own that parcel as well. And I just know there's a creek through it. So I thought that might be interesting. There's no structures on that parcel.
right, okay. But your
But it
DC
just shows the
cross.
blue line on that one map. You
Right.
could demonstrate the,
So it is showing, see, this is the target parcel, Pam, but this shows, that this person, if it wasn't you, would be
Yeah.
responsible for taking care of that portion of
Yeah.
the D space on their property. And
thank
here,
goodness for the goats.
right, shows the blue line stream, and you'll be able to pick out other features here like roads. And under the vegetation, this is similar to what they're discovering like in the Mayan forests. You may find things on the DEM shade relief map here you didn't know were lurking under all that vegetation.
Wow,
So it's a really
very cool.
high resolution ground topography.
Archaeology.
Exactly right. Who knows what we're gonna find? But
I'd like to, can I point out that like in this large parcel environment, it's, I see that it's it appears to be somewhat vague, but I noticed when I looked it up in the Berryessa Highlands neighborhood in a consolidated area, all of a sudden it does become useful. It looks like it will become helpful to help homeowners recognize that they're responsible for their zone. And it looks like you're scrolling over that way towards the Highlands.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly helpful here, Evan. You're right. This is an example of it's not urban, but it's more densely populated WUI.
Yeah, where there's a density because in our neighborhood, we have a big problem where everyone ignores the fact that they're influencing each other's homes' survivability. So yeah, I'll say no more. I think you're about to show what I'm implying.
Yeah.
Can I ask this is Steve Merrill, can I ask a question? You mentioned this is 2018 data.
Yes.
And that's to me, it's extremely important to have more current data because it doesn't reflect the work that's been done. And as you say, some stuff has grown back. So it really kind of makes me question how useful this is. What is the obstacle to getting the 2023 LiDAR data downloaded into the map?
So it has been flown. The Department of Conservation, we advocated through several channels to get the data flown. I'll stop sharing if that's okay. We did advocate to get the data flown, and it has been done free of charge to us simultaneously with Lake and Sonoma counties. So now, as of this last spring, there should be a great brand new regional data set. The cost and the time will come with identifying funds to reduce that data and redo the analysis for the wildfire risk, and then to package it like this to compare against what was done in 2018 to see change over time and to demonstrate all those things, Steve, that we're interested in. Generally speaking, we looked at some initial quotes for that. It could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on how many partners come together to do this. Will come identifying funds to reduce it. But one of the very nice things about this as an initial tool is that it only costs, I say only, but $100,000 for everyone in Napa County. So everyone can have a report and a place to start to at least understand the concept of how defensible space helps protect themselves, and like Evan said, their neighbors, and to see what that means in terms of the cost structure for complying with the ordinance. But I do think it is critically important to update the data, demonstrate change over time, but also demonstrate how work that has been done, specifically our larger scale projects and cumulative DSpace projects, have reduced overall risk for the entire county. And this should speak volumes to the insurance company. It's just about getting the work funded and done. So it's on our radar.
Who is providing the underlying software that is amalgamating this data and putting it into this?
I don't know if Mark Tuckman would be doing the data reduction. This is something I could go back to Pepperwood and ask, but Mark Tuckman is the one, and maybe Joe can speak more to it, who worked with Carol and did the initial analysis for our CWPP for Napa County, but also reduced it and customized it for these specific reports that's more palatable to homeowners. There's a lot more data in there, so we really tried to cull it.
Yeah. Well, that's important.
It is Tuckman. He used the LiDAR, the available ArcGIS, Esri stuff, and then yeah, I think he had it.
This program and this document, it doesn't necessarily break down the details of plant per plant, but it seems to just put a circle around the zones. So
yes.
This is not one program that's going to solve all problems and teach everybody how to do everything. But this is it looks as though this is a tool that shows, if anything, the perimeter of responsibility, because that's a big thing. I know in our neighborhood of what's left is 250 homes. Everyone's concerned about, well, like that lot or that house is jeopardizing my home, and it looks like that's where this program can help with that. Is that correct?
Yes, and ideally it adds on to what the DSpace program gives, or what you all might give if you get the DSpace assessment training. I think as an environmental planner myself, I look at things at several scales like we've been talking about. We look at the whole county, we look at the neighborhood, we look at individuals. And so I think it's incredibly important to have a visual to zoom up and down, to put things in context.
Just in a circle, yeah.
Right.
A
But,
circle around everybody's home.
but you can still, if you understand, there are other parts of your property where maybe you don't want 11-foot flame lengths, or
Yeah.
you want to build a fuel break that is contiguous with your neighbors in a forested area, and you see that it is all yellow and red, that maybe that's, like Pam said, where you focus on reducing your ladder fuels. But that is a planning process that I would recommend that you work with NCFF on, so that we can get funds to do things that are, you know, at scale. So
Yeah, it has both. It has the red and the yellow and green, but it also has the circles, so you can focus on both, right?
right. And then obviously we're linking back to our webpage, and the last button there on the UCANR Off Fuels Mapper website takes you to resources like vendors, like understanding, you know, permits, or all those questions that you're talking about, Evan. This is one small tool to empower people. But as Piper would say, as part of the DSpace program, those self-assessments that then look at individual properties and prioritize projects are critically important as a roadmap for people to follow on their own parcel. This is just a step up, and then another step up when you look at the Fire Safe Council thing. Like, for example, if you wanted to choose neighbors in need, it's just another view at 2 other scales. So I'd like your comments on functionality, both with our website and with the UCNR website, so that we can continuously improve this with Pepperwood and with UCNR. And we can link back and forth between both sites, so we get more people a tool to work with. So
One quick comment, I was looking at our, we have a ranch, 200 acres, been here since 1979, and about 150 acres of oak woodlands. We have historically grazed cattle in a portion of the oak woodlands, and other parts are ungrazed. But I was looking at the flame, predictor technology that drives, or the maps, and it's quite remarkable in terms of the benefits of livestock grazing and reducing flame lengths, because you see where the cattle fence is. And it's basically, we've been doing, it's probably like 60 or 70 year experiment of grazing and not grazing, but it's quite remarkable. You can see right where the fence is. On one side it's green, the next side all red. But anyway, we're working to remedy that by putting in cattle fence on the ungrazed portion and introducing our cattle in that area. But we have to do a lot of hand crew work to get the understory under control.
So Fred, that kind of validation would be an excellent quote for us to prove that it's not just data, it's useful data, that it actually is meaningful. But it will age over time, like anything else in the landscape. And we had started this meeting, over an hour ago, talking about generational and environmental amnesia. If you didn't grow up here, or you aren't from here, maybe you don't remember what things look like or how they've changed. And it's really critically important for people to realize that a landscape vegetation is not static, and that this active stewardship can really make a difference. So I appreciate that. Are there any other?
And I second that the red, yellow, green is very accurate, and you guys can show that to your neighbors, and if they see red, that's a bad thing. I second that it's very accurate.
Hey, Gretchen, it's Rick Jones. I'm looking at mine. It looks good, but I had just looked at my neighbors, and for some reason, the defensible space circles are not around his structure. It doesn't show anything on his property. Have you seen that before?
Is it a new structure, Rick?
No, it's been there for 20 years.
I don't know why that is the case, but that is something that we should bring to the attention of the developers. I have not heard of that instance before. They captured most of them.
Okay,
So,
I'll download the report for his property and I'll send it to you.
okay.
I think they missed 1 out of 1,000 or so.
Yeah, I don't know how they captured them. It's some algorithm maybe. And there are going to be new properties. I do need to say that Carol said that the areas that burned in the glass fire, so things, or I think she made some assumptions in areas that were burned, they went through and they made assumptions. So it's not necessarily exactly the same as the 2018 on the ground. They tried to make the assumptions that would have been pre-burn. But like I said, I'm very excited about the possibility of getting funding for the 2023 data. And now that we've done the heavy work of setting up the framework, the templates, and a hosting site, updating that with new data will not nearly be as time consuming or difficult. And I think we all would appreciate feedback about usefulness and usability and improvements, and other things people might want to know with the data. But I was extremely pleased with the fact that we can give everybody in Napa County some product to start the discussion so that it's not just theoretical, it's something tangible. Rick, did you have something else to say?
No, that's fine. Thanks.
Just saw your hand.
Okay, lowered it. There we go.
I appreciate your time, everyone. Does anybody else have any closing comments? I hope to see you at the insurance webinar.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Have a good
Yeah,
evening.
Thank you as well. That was great. Just one quick, is the site is wildfiremapper.org, right?
I think it's, isn't it Wildfire Fuels? It's, yes, wildfirefuelmapper.org.
And then from that website, you can click on Napa County, is very easy to click on versus Sonoma County, and navigate from there, it appears.
Right. And I do encourage you to look at the other buttons, the ones that come back to our website, and then the resources page. They've done some beautiful things on the resources page, including showing how much vegetation has grown, like over 50 years in some places, to keep people understanding that perspective. And hopefully we can update with really good recommended vendors for people, as well as on our website. And this is more regional. So please do use it for your Fire Safe Council as a resource.
And it works for properties over the size of what acreage?
3 acres. And if there is good enough interest, we will look into getting functionality for choosing multiple parcels so that you could basically plan for a neighborhood instead of just these 2 scales.
I notice it's still functional though. If you have adjacent properties that are larger than 3 acres, it then gives you the data on the smaller properties as well, basically in the same map. So it almost, you can still make it be helpful.
Yeah, it's definitely a work in progress. It's a step up from what Sonoma has, if that makes you excited. But I'm really, really looking forward to see how this gets deployed and ideas for how to make it better, and any funding sources that you know that could expedite delivery to updated reports. So thank you for your time tonight, everyone.
Cool. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.